Shocking response from Alcaraz to criticism over his complaints about the schedule. What really matters? The player from El Palmar has spoken about the exhibitions he has planned before the end of the year. Many have criticized the world number one for complaining about the calendar while playing these friendlies. Carlos Alcaraz has officially finished what could be considered the best season of his career. Champion of Roland Garros and the US Open, runner-up at Wimbledon, and world number one. All this accompanied by several Masters titles that the Mercian has collected throughout the season. Carlitos has finished the year, despite his success, somewhat physically diminished. In fact, he was unable to attend the Davis Cup Finals with Spain due to an edema he suffered in his right leg during the final of the ATP Finals. The world number one has blamed his physical issues on the demands of the ATP calendar. For Alcaraz, as for many tennis players, too many tournaments are played. However, some exhibitions he has scheduled before the end of the year have generated criticism toward the Mercian. Even so, Carlitos has no problem explaining the situation. It's normal for people to think that way and not understand why we complain about the schedule and then organize exhibition matches. But for me, the main difference is that, in a tournament, you have to stay focused and it's really demanding physically and mentally for a week and a half, the current duration of almost all the Masters 1000. And an exhibition is just one day, the world number one acknowledges. Alcaraz tells Associated Press that the difference between a tour match and an exhibition is considerable. You only focus, you only warm up, you only train, for one match. Carlos Alcaraz surprises everyone by delivering the MLS Eastern Conference trophy to Messi's Inter Miami. After being spotted at a Miami Heat NBA game, Carlos Alcaraz has now switched to football, attending an Inter Miami match featuring Leo Messi, and he brought the Argentine good luck. Carlos Alcaraz's adventures in Miami continue this week, and after attending a Miami Heat game, where he became an involuntary protagonist after receiving a jersey from the mascot and witnessing the NBA spectacle firsthand, he has now returned to a sport he's more familiar with, football. Specifically, the Mercian witnessed a great victory by Leo Messi and his Inter Miami in the MLS Cup semifinals against New York City. The Spanish tennis player attended the MLS Eastern Conference Final this Saturday at Chase Stadium in Fort Lauderdale. And just like in basketball, during the pre-match events, Alcaraz received a special Inter Miami jersey with the number 99. The Mercian was on the pitch and exchanged greetings with several members of the Miami team, which this Saturday secured a spot in the MLS Cup final after winning this match. They will play the final on December 6 in Miami. He appeared especially close with the star from Rosario in a meeting between two of the most talented athletes in history. A lucky charm for Leo Messi. Alcaraz's presence brought good luck to Leo Messi, as Inter Miami thrashed New York City 5-1 with a hat-trick from former Celta de Vigo player Tadeo Allende in this MLS Eastern Conference Final, and thus qualified for the MLS Cup Final, the first in the history of the Florida club and also Messi's first, who will fight for the title with his team on December 6. The final will be played at the same venue, Chase Stadium in Fort Lauderdale, between Inter Miami and the winner of the semifinal between Vancouver and San Diego. Alcaraz after seeing Messi's Inter crowned champions, it was a very beautiful experience. The Spaniard was in a privileged position during the home team's entrance this Saturday, allowing him to greet Messi, whom he had previously met at the 2023 Laureus World Sports Awards. He also congratulated the Argentine legend during the trophy presentation. It was a very beautiful experience, he said in an Inter post on X. Additionally, the Mercian exchanged a few words with players such as Uruguay's Luis Suarez and the Spaniards Sergio Busquets and Jordi Alba. Rafa Nadal's advice to Carlos Alcaraz that changed him completely. To become one of the best tennis players in history, a member of the Big Three and winner of 22 Grand Slams, 14 of them at Roland Garros, like Rafa Nadal, several factors are needed: talent, hard work, and physical condition. But not only that, as Nadal explained in his interview on Universo Valdano, it is also essential to enjoy tennis and not see it as a sacrifice. Nadal once told Alcaraz something similar, advice the Mercian still remembers and which 20 Minutos asked him about following Valdano's live interview. Sacrifices are when someone does things they don't want to do. In that sense, I haven't made big sacrifices. I've made big efforts, but sacrifices, few. I've enjoyed what I've done. I haven't felt like I've missed out on practically anything in life, Nadal explained in the interview with the former footballer about how he has lived his professional career. This reminded Alcaraz of a piece of advice Nadal had given him, that I don't have to see tennis as an obligation. That I should do it to practice and become better, but not out of obligation. This recommendation undoubtedly helped Nadal throughout his career, and it seems it stayed deeply engraved in Alcaraz's mind. Carlos Alcaraz has his own personality and determination to achieve his goals. Beyond that, personally, I think everyone has to act according to their personality, they shouldn't go against who they are as a person. Nadal told this newspaper about what he believes Alcaraz should focus on. Nadal also explained that every tennis player has to find what works for them individually. Some things work for some and not for others. We are not all the same. Some need more rest, others need to play golf, go to the cinema. Everyone finds their own formula to reconnect and return to work with renewed energy to perform at the highest level. Carlos Alcaraz, who ends the year as world number 1, has completed the best season of his career so far. The Mercian, who has won 6 Grand Slams and only lacks the Australian Open, wants to become one of the best tennis players in history. He now wants to win the ATP Finals, where he will face Auger Aliassime this Saturday in the semifinals after the Canadian defeated Zverev. Alcaraz discussed all of this, as well as his relationship with Rafa Nadal, in an interview with El Partidazo de Cope. The student of Juan Carlos Ferrero has just regained the world number 1 ranking, that's what the ranking shows. But I'm far from being the best tennis player in terms of tennis or level, because there are still many players who can beat me and I've lost to many players. I'm not the best, but the ranking shows that. In the interview, the Mercian also spoke about the big 3 and whether he expects to match or surpass them. I can sit at the table with Nadal, Federer, and Djokovic. If I didn't think so, I wouldn't have goals, ambition, anything. That is an objective for the end of my career, to see whether I can sit at that table with them. And I think I can. Alcaraz also spoke about his relationship with Rafa Nadal over the years and how it has influenced his career. I've always admired Nadal and he has always given me a hand and supported me. Being able now to talk to him as equals, as if he were a friend, for me, it means everything. I've asked him for advice on certain matters and he has always been there. The ATP punishes Carlos Alcaraz and Sinner. Carlos Alcaraz loses half of his Christmas extra pay. The Mercian, who ended 2025 as world number 1 in the ATP rankings, was unable to play all the Masters 1000 events, costing him a significant amount of money. As the last month of the year approaches and the tennis season has come to an end, it is time to assess the athletic and economic earnings that 2025 has brought to the sport's biggest current stars. Among them, of course, the most curious case is that of the current world number 1, Carlos Alcaraz. After completing the best season of his still young career, many wonder how these achievements have impacted his personal finances. Well, the Mercian, who reached 11 finals this season, has missed out on half of an important extra bonus. This is the bonus given to players who compete in all the Masters 1000 tournaments in a season. Alcaraz would have been entitled to $4.8 million if he had played them all, but the rule states that the reward is reduced by 25% for each Masters 1000 missed due to withdrawal or injury, up to a maximum of 3. From the 4th tournament missed onwards, the bonus is completely eliminated, which is what happened to Sinner. Alcaraz challenges Sinner ahead of 2026. Carlos Alcaraz could not overcome Jannik Sinner in the final of the ATP Finals held at the Analpi Arena in Turin. The Spanish tennis player, who performed well overall, was left tasting bitterness after losing 7-6, 4, 7-5 to the player from San Candido, closing 2025 as world number 1 with 8 titles to his name. The Mercian accepted the painful defeat, and during the award ceremony of the ATP Finals, he sent Sinner a warning ahead of 2026, a year that promises great excitement and in which the Spaniard and Italian will surely face each other more than once. It's been a great year for Jannik and now it's time to rest. I hope you're ready for next year because I will be too. Hopefully, we can play more finals together, said the player from El Palmar shortly after thanking the Italian crowd for their support and respect during the final. Sinner decided to rest and prepare for 2026, a decision that sparked much discussion. However, Jannik shared a rather striking opinion about the tournament scheduling. Carlitos already stated that, given how tight the calendar is, it should be played less frequently, and Sinner agreed. Every player has their own opinion. With this calendar, it is difficult for the Davis Cup to have the best players from every country each year. What I would love to see in the future, is for the Davis Cup to be played every 2 years. That way you could place the semifinals early in the season and the final later on, somewhere, Jannik said. The Italian pointed out certain aspects he would like to see return from the old Davis Cup format. If the finals are in Bologna, and there is an Australia versus United States match, of course there will be spectators, I'm not saying otherwise, but at the same time, why not make it the real Davis Cup? I've never had the chance to play the Davis Cup, the real Davis Cup, where you have to go play away in Brazil or Argentina, with the whole stadium not exactly against you, but passionately supporting their country. I think that is the real Davis Cup, Sinner concluded. Carlos Alcaraz defeats Sinner in another peculiar battle. The Mercian has beaten the Italian in a statistical category that already has its own honorary title among tennis fans. No one disputes that 2025 has been Carlos Alcaraz's year. Nor does anyone dispute that if Jannik Sinner hadn't been suspended for 3 months for doping, he might have spoiled the Mercian's very happy ending to the season. The Spanish tennis player ends the year conquering his great goal, finishing atop the ATP rankings. But only 550 points separate the two players. While Alcaraz has played 19 tournaments this year, the Italian has participated in 18. Their different schedules and injuries have made their numbers nearly identical. And to top it off, Sinner defended his ATP Finals title, one of the trophies Alcaraz still lacks. Thus, after analyzing their full-year statistics, it was published that the Mercian has earned the honorary title of Baker of the Year. In other words, he is the player who produced the most 6-0 and 6-1 sets throughout the season. In tennis jargon, a 6-0 is called a bagel and a 6-1 a breadstick. Well, Carlos recorded 8 sets of 6-0 and 27 sets of 6-1, a total of 35 freshly baked sets, only one more than the Italian's 34.